Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back. You can't get rid of me. I'm like the clap. So, I believe Doku has an opinion about Bill Maher. Good luck. All yours, mate.
So, I know this is a few days old, but Bill Maher had some things to say about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I've heard I've heard some good takes. I've heard some bad takes. I've heard some hot takes. Bill Maher will take the cake for having one of the stupidest takes I've ever heard. It just I have to start off with just the most absurd thing that I think I've heard in quite some time. How are you going to lecture your audience about something that you openly claim to know nothing about? like, are
Yeah,
you serious, dude?
yeah.
You you start off with your segment with "I don't understand cryptocurrency," and then you proceed to lecture people about why crypto is bad.
Yes.
Uh, you you just admitted you don't understand it, so everything you say from this point forward is completely irrelevant. It makes absolutely no sense. You're claiming you don't understand it. It I guess you're a comedian for a reason.
Yeah, pretty much.
So he tries to go on this tirade about, ironically, a big issue I had with crypto when it very first started.
Hmm.
It's where do I actually begin with this without going into the weeds? He makes a point about, well, this isn't real. It, you can't you can't physically hold it. You can't do this. You can't do that. It's like, okay, yeah, you could actually make the same argument about the U.S. dollar, actually, because if you look at the way the U.S. dollar works in today's day and age, most of it's printed digitally. It
Hmm.
there's not even a physical piece of paper, more accurately, piece of fabric, because technically that's what the dollar's printed on. It's actually not paper; it's fabric.
Yeah.
But semantics. But the amount of dollars that are in circulation are printed digitally. If you don't believe me, go look at the last head of the Fed and how they create dollars.
Hmm.
They do it digitally. You want to know the difference between using Bill Maher's example, Bitcoin.
Hmm.
There is only ever going to be a limited amount of Bitcoin. It is a deflationary currency. You cannot make more of it. Once you hit, I believe it's like what, 21 or 22 million Bitcoin is the total amount that will ever be in circulation, because that's how the blockchain works. You can't make more of it. You can make more dollars, and you can do it digitally. What's the difference? Well, one is backed up by the US government, the Federal Reserve, and the central banking system, and the other one is completely decentralized, and it's a limited currency. What's the difference between the two? Well,
It sounds to me like the Bitcoin. Yeah.
well,
Yes, you're right, CSG. Yes, you did.
well,
What you're
there's
saying is that Bitcoin is probably more than likely worth more and is better controlled than the Fed, i.e., regular American money. Am I wrong?
you're not wrong, and there is two primary differences between these. If we're going to just compare and contrast Bitcoin with the United States dollar,
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin, and this is why it gets treated as either an asset or a commodity. The SEC is still trying to figure out exactly how to qualify it. But what we know about Bitcoin is this:
Mm-hmm.
it's scarce. You can only have so many.
Yeah.
So it is a scarce resource. Which brings us to the second point. and this is where the Bitcoin and the U.S. dollar have some overlap and how they are similar.
Yeah.
Both are being viewed as a representation of value. And this is, some people will get this wrong. They like to say Bitcoin is digital gold. It's not. It's actually not a store of wealth. It isn't.
Okay.
What it is that it has value. Because Bitcoin didn't have value until people started accepting it as an exchange for a good or a service. Once that happened, then Bitcoin became essentially what we would call a currency. It's still not money. Money and currency are different. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole. I've been down it before. I'll just say Bitcoin is not money. It is an exchange of value.
Yeah.
The same way that the US dollar is. Because guess what? The dollar's not backed up by Goid. God, fuck me. Goid. We're hashtag Goid. Hashtag Goid. Bitcoin is not gold. It is not backed up by gold. Neither is the US dollar. What it is that it is an exchange of value. And because people put value on it, Bitcoin can be viewed as an asset because people accept it as an exchange of value the same way they accept the US dollar as an exchange of value. What is the difference between these two? Well, Bitcoin is backed up by JM Bullion, APMEX. They'll exchange it for gold or silver. Tesla will take it, and you can buy a car with it. You can, depending on what bank you can use it to pay off a mortgage. It's backed up by all of these large corporations that accept it as an exchange of value. What's different about that than the United States dollar? Well, the dollar is backed up by the idea that the federal government is always going to repay its debts. It is backed up by the good faith of the United States.
So what you're telling me is it is backed up by Goid. Gotcha.
It's backed up by hashtag Goid. I swear, if that actually becomes a thing, I'm gonna laugh my ass off. But what these two things have in common, both Bitcoin and the United States dollar, is that there is faith. There is faith behind them because there is someone to back it up. They will repay the debt. And that's what it is. It's a measure of value. Now, what's the difference between Bitcoin and the United States dollar once we have established that both of these are currencies? Well, you can only have so many Bitcoins. It's deflationary. Once you have so many in circulation, there will never be any more. They will increase in value as they get measured against other things. In this case, it'd be United States dollars. The United States dollar is an inflationary currency. As long as we can continue to print it, and again, that's not saying the United States dollar doesn't have value. It's just if there's $1,000 in circulation now, I guarantee you, per central bank policy, per Fed policy, there will be 1,100 tomorrow, 1,200 the next day, 1,500 a week from now, 1 million a year from now. It is an inflationary currency. You know what's going to go up in value? Bitcoin. You know what's going to go down in value? That single dollar that you hold. Because one is deflationary, the other is inflationary. This is basic economics. This is not a difficult concept to grasp, but apparently Bill Maher doesn't grasp it. Doesn't understand why Bitcoin actually has value. Or more specifically, he doesn't understand why Bitcoin goes up in value. It's not pixie dust. If you want to make the argument, and he literally did call it pixie dust, well, guess what? The United States dollar is pixie dust too. By your logic, they're the same damn thing. It's just one is backed up by the United States government, the other one's backed up by a completely decentralized exchange system that is only capable of happening because of blockchain technology. Both require the internet in order to be viable in today's current market economy. If they weren't, well, then guess what? You're going to have to start printing a whole hell of a lot of fabric. They both operate on a digital scale. Making that argument is just completely nonsensical. It's stupid. Now, here's the funny part. Bill Maher comes out and says the reason Bitcoin is bad is because all the computers that are used to, quote, mine it, which, yeah, that is the term used. It's called mining. You have to have a computer that goes and hashes through all the different potential outcomes to actually fit all the links in the blockchain to actually produce a Bitcoin. It's proof of work, and that requires energy, requires electricity. To do that requires a computer. Jensen, I would like to ask you a question. Where do you think the Bitcoin is bad argument that Bill Maher is going to go with? Or which reason do you think he's going to say Bitcoin is bad?
Because computers could go offline?
Nope, it's
actually
it's stupider than that.
Oh God, go on. It's supposed to be painful.
How dare you? How dare you?
Oh no! Please no. He didn't. I mean, this makes sense what CSG is saying, but he did not say it's not green.
He thinks Bitcoin is terrible and bad because it goes against the climate change agenda. So I would like to make a similar argument.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more electric cars we have on the market, those use electricity.
Yes.
Same argument. Electric cars require electricity, therefore they go against the climate change agenda. Electric cars bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally the argument they're making.
Oh. I hope you can look. I hope you can see your screen.
And memes, yes, Bill Maher is actually trying to fight for the dollar, and this is not new. And there is a reason that individuals do not like the idea of cryptocurrency, especially things like Bitcoin, now that they're becoming more and more accepted and they're not dark web, evil gonna buy drugs, money. It is a direct challenge to the standard monetary system. So it is a direct threat. That's why you see a push against these things. But it doesn't change the. I mean, if you wanted to make the argument that this push towards cryptocurrency, things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, any blockchain cryptocurrency, I could rattle off 20 of them. I'm not going to waste your time with that. If you made the argument that this is a direct threat to the monetary system and that it could destabilize the entire global monetary system and that's why these things are bad, you would actually have an argument. Because that was the whole reason I didn't jump into them when I heard about them in the first place. It is a direct threat to the monetary system as it stands right now because it is a viable competitor. But when you go to the extent of, well, they just make a bunch of servers and these servers use up electricity and they use them for mining and, therefore it's climate change and that makes it bad. Do you know how much electricity a server farm to run a World of Warcraft server uses? By your logic, we should outlaw fucking MMORPGs, you absolute frickin' toast brains.
They will bring this out. I'm just pointing this. Okay, they will say that. And by the way, if we actually want to get rid of both of them and we want to go on to the Green New Deal, we need to change all of our money into GOID. We'll be sorted then.
Hashtag GOID.
Hashtag GOID.
But yeah, if you look at the argument that they're trying to make, well, we have a bunch of server farms and they're using all this electricity to try to mine fake digital money. How much electricity do you think is spent on frickin' Genshin Impact trying to mine frickin' games they can use in tokens so they can get some kind of costume? Because I don't like the color red. I like the color blue. So I want my Chinese developed big titty anime girl to have a blue dress instead of a red dress. Is that a problem? By your logic, it sounds like a problem.
You could technically save money and not get either, and that way she's got no dress, and we're in a win-win situation. Just saying.
Fair enough. Can't really argue that, actually.
just a point,
But no, this is the logic that these people are trying to use. And again, to remind everyone, Bill Maher, who admittedly does not understand crypto, trying to say, "Oh, this is bad." Okay, you're saying, okay. Well, let's just go with Bill Maher's logic again. I'm sorry, all you Call of Duty Modern Warfare players, all the CS:GO players out there, all the World of Warcraft players. Any game that requires a server that uses energy constantly. Well, we got to get rid of that because climate change, using up electricity. It's bad. Got to get rid of it. You bought a Tesla? I'm sorry, man. Teslas use electricity. I'm gonna have to get rid of those. I guess you could sell it for scrap. But yeah, same logic. If you follow Bill Maher's logic, you're gonna have to get rid of online gaming. That's bad. Electric cars, bad. Cell phones have batteries. You plug them in. Crap. We're gonna Jensen. I'm sorry. We're not gonna be able to do live streams anymore. YouTube has servers. We're gonna have to get rid of YouTube. Google uses servers. I'm pretty sure those are online 24/7. We're gonna have to get rid of those too. They use electricity. Fuck it. Let's just get rid of the internet altogether. Bad. Oh crap. Light bulbs. Light bulbs use electricity. Light bulbs are bad. Gonna have to get rid of that. It's starting to see why this argument is incredibly big R word that YouTube doesn't like. For the record, it's retarded.
Yeah. CSG, hopefully that works.
Yeah. Again, I can understand arguments against crypto because I've made them before. I did not trust crypto for a very long time. But I didn't make the argument, oh, it's bad because climate change. What? That's what you're going with. Really? Coming from the guy who openly says, well, I don't understand crypto, but anybody who believes in crypto is stupid. Maybe you're okay. I guess your viewers are stupid. Bill Maher, you're also a freaking idiot. You're a moron. Honestly, I think your viewers are actually probably more intelligent than you for this simple reason. At least some of your viewers are going to look at you and go, why the hell are you trying to tell me about something that you admit you absolutely know nothing about?
Yeah.
So I'm going to take your word for it. Maybe you should have done your due diligence. Maybe you should have done your fucking research, you absolute freaking balloon.
Yeah.
Full of fucking hot air and piss and vinegar. You don't know jack shit what you're talking about. Hey, Bill Maher, let me ask you a question. Do you know the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum? Do you know what the blockchain is? Do you know what you can do with certain types of crypto? Do you know why smart contracts are important to Ethereum? Do you understand any of these things? Do you know what an NFT is? My guess is probably no.
I just want to point out, I don't know what any of that meant, but, just saying.
But you're also not Bill Maher, who's sitting here on a nationally broadcasted television show trying to tell people why cryptocurrency is a scam and it's pixie dust, when I guarantee you his paycheck probably gets paid to him digitally, and if he tried to go to a fucking bank to get dollar bills to represent his entire net worth, they would shut him off because the bank probably doesn't have enough physical fucking dollars to actually print out to represent it. Why? Because it's fucking digital, you balloon.
I'm not disagreeing in the slightest.
This is the argument this porcupine tried to make. And yes, we're shifting from balloon to porcupine. This is the argument he tried to make. And because he doesn't understand what the hell he's talking about, which, again, hey, Bill Maher, let's put the climate change thing aside real quick. JM Bullion and AppMex will accept Bitcoin, and I can buy gold, silver, copper, platinum using Bitcoin, and you're claiming that Bitcoin is pixie dust? By your logic, dollars are the same damn thing.
Hey, CSG.
Hey, I didn't realize that I went back in time to the beginning of the stream where he started off his rant at the beginning. So are we now going full circle?
I'm circling back around, CSG.
Yeah.
I'm circling back around. I'm actually trying to get a job as a White House press secretary. So,
I mean, if you could say it first, then you'd be fine, I suppose.
Dude, if you want to say anything, you just remind me about hashtag Goid.
Goid.
That does it all.
Yep. Hashtag Goid.
Hashtag Goid. I'm actually going to try to see if I could get that trending because it's funny.
If I was you, first of all, I would try and use it in alt-right circles first because it sounds like something else first.
It does, doesn't it?
Damn, you're actually not wrong. You're not wrong.
Hashtag Goid. It almost, are you trying to suggest that a certain type of people are interconnected with money in some way? Is this what you're trying to say to me, Doka?
Okay, no, that actually might get us banned. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's the whole reason why I didn't actually say it, apart from when I said it in the chat.
Me, on the other hand, I don't care.
It is funny, though. Again, the jokes write themselves at this point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, this time I don't actually have to think about it or try and spell it. I can just regurgitate it or spit it out.
Hey, you okay?
Oh, no, everybody's coming on.
No, it's the fact that we're talking about a certain racial type and Yorkie turns up.
Yeah. To be fair,
I had to talk about the nose and I got here as fast as I could.
Oh, dear. It'd be funny. Anyway, have at it, people. I'm sure someone knows what they're doing. It ain't me.
I actually wanted to say I actually agree with Doku for an actual change.
Wow.
I'm somebody that likes the idea of not climate change, actually doing something about it. I don't like the idea of it, but I like actually doing something about it. So when people come out and they actually use things like this as an excuse to try and virtue signal to, oh, we can't do this because of this, as Doku quite rightly points out, well, if we're going to go to a more electrified state anyway, regardless of if it's the US or the UK, we're going to be more reliant on electrical outputs. So we're either going to have more coal-powered plants, nuclear power plants, or we're going to try and push for the renewables. Now, even if we push for more renewables, we're going to have to take up more and more resources and more area, which means more and more animals and more real estate is going to be taken up. Mm-hmm. So for me, I kind of think it's an endless circle. It's like a dog chasing its own tail. You want to do something. You want to catch that tail at the end, but you just can't because every time that you step forward, so does the tail.
Down that tail. Mm-hmm.
Well, I tend to agree with CSG on this one. I'm all for efficiency. Mm-hmm. So if we already live in a quote, we live in a society. Yeah, make the jokes now. Mm-hmm. But again, we have electricity, we have light bulbs, we have computers, we have smartphones, we have cryptocurrency, we have electric cars. So can we actually start focusing on making our energy more efficient as opposed to just, well, this energy is good, this energy is bad. Like, we're going to need energy regardless. I've been a proponent of nuclear actually has a better output and has less environmental impact. So, okay, let's look at nuclear. Oh, you don't like nuclear? Can we look at geothermal? Geothermal's a viable option. Why haven't we explored that technology?
I would make the suggestion of hamsters and whips, but hey.
I mean, that's a good suggestion, but with the geothermal aspect, it's a case of being able to dig down further to be able to get to lava flows and stuff like that, to be able to get the heat and everything else like that off of it. So there's a high risk with it. And with any sort of thing that has a lava flow, you have the potential for earthquakes, you have the potential for volcanic eruptions. So it's not a viable, it's not a stable investment, put it that way, because you know something's going to happen to it.
Well, we can say the same thing about solar and wind, because we've seen, in the case of Texas, that wind technology has some rather negative environmental impacts when it comes to wind energy. We can look at
don't mention the birds.
Not even just the birds, just the fact that you start putting up a bunch of wind turbines, it actually changes. It changes just the flow of the air in the atmosphere. It actually has a lot more negative impacts in regards to just the local ecosystem.
Sure.
But I mean, we can also look at solar cells. They tend to catch fire. That's not a good thing.
Well, even on the solar panels, even forget about the aspects of them malfunctioning. It's a case of they have a limited lifespan. You cannot replace the actual solar panels or recycle the solar panels that you've already used.
Well, that's another issue, because there's two other points. This goes in with the lithium-ion batteries and electric cars. What is the environmental impact of trying to get those materials out of the ground? Because last I checked, we don't have solar-powered or battery-powered excavators that are digging this stuff out of the ground.
Sure, but I mean, I think that people would understand that if you're using a diesel-powered engine to, try and do something, it's like the idea of doing a little bit of bad to doing a little bit of good. Like the police have to use a little bit of force to be able to enforce law. So they're allowed to use it because it makes a greater good.
I mean, in the long run, sure. I mean, if we're gonna go down that road, we'd be better off going with nat gas and trying to get nat gas engines when it comes to these large excavating units, because it's A, more abundant, and B, it doesn't have the same type of emissions that you would get from any fossil fuel in the traditional sense of the word. So we should be focusing
as long as they farm it ethically. As long as they farm it ethically and make sure that there's no spillage of it in that essence, then I don't have a problem with farming nat gas.
Personally, I think why not all of them? Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Rationally speaking, that would be the smart decision. But again, this gets into the problem that people like Bill Maher have, where it's just, we're using up electricity and it's a bad thing, so we got to get rid of this. Like, are you aware of how incredibly complicated our energy grid actually is? We might have wind, we might have solar, we might have nat gas, we might have geothermal, we might have nuclear. These are all parts of the power grid. Now, what are you going to put the emphasis on? What we should be talking about now is what is the most efficient, and what is the technology we should be pursuing to get the most, lack of a better word, most bang for our buck, as opposed to just electricity bad. I don't even really understand the argument these people are trying to come up with. It's nonsensical. It's silly. It's stupid.
It's actually even worse than what you think it is, because Bill Maher's argument is a case of, electricity to run the server farm is really high. Okay, what's the environmental cost of actually printing goddamn money?
And higher than running a server farm to produce a Bitcoin, I can tell you that much.
Oh dear, that means his argument completely falls on its head then, straight away before it even started.
The crazy part is there's people who actually sit there and look at it and go like, oh, you're right. Running a computer, like everybody's doing to comment on this, is using electricity. Well, you could be using that electricity to mine a Bitcoin that actually... You could be using that electricity.
I'm using hamsters to run mine.
Oh, you're going to have to feed the hamster.
To be fair, when he says hamster, he means young children.
Shh. I call them hamsters. Work, peasants, work!
But it's just silly to me that Bill Maher can sit there and try to make this argument that Bitcoin is bad because, we need to run a computer and the computer generates or runs on electricity and that generates some negative impact to the environment. Well,
Yeah, but it's worse than that. I mean, not going back to what I've said, but it's worse than that because people like Bill Maher, because they're doing it as an entertainment show, they hyper focus on one aspect or one negative of that point. And because they hyper focus on it, they actually end up negating their own issue. So if, say, for instance, you're not you guys, but say in general, you don't believe in climate change of any description, not just the narrative, but any description, then you can use this as an excuse to be able to say, well, Bill Maher doesn't even understand how this actually works in general. So how the hell should we listen to these people that are supposed to be telling us things? Because it's so, as you say, Doku, it's so convoluted in the idea of hyper focusing on one point. Oh, we shouldn't do Bitcoin because electricity bad. It's like, okay, as you quite rightly said, then that means electricity bad for everything. So are you saying that we should go back to the Stone Age and not use any electricity? Or are you saying that there's aspects where we should use electricity? If so, why bad, blah, blah, blah? It doesn't actually logically follow as an argument. It's so hyper-focused, it destroys itself on any outlook other than what he actually mentions.
Well, what I would like to know is, Bill Maher, how much electricity does the lighting for your show, the cameras that have to record it, since I know you're on HBO Max, the servers that actually
you're not allowed to
host
mention that.
your show.
Banned.
Yeah, how much electricity do all of those assets use? That sounds.
You are not allowed to criticize our almighty leaders. Banned.
Sorry about that. Good news. I've got another induction day tomorrow morning.
Oh, nice one. Well done, man.
Yeah, well done, mate.
Yeah, same building as the previous work, just different section of the building.
Okay.
It's
All
with
power
the
to you
clothing.
guys. I hope you get it.
Thanks. And from what I heard of it before, it's you don't have to use vehicles in that area, so I'm good.
Cool.
So you're being environmentally friendly, then, so that's good.
Oh no, I'm just shit with vehicles.
I know the feeling.
Yeah,
To be fair, most people from Yorkshire are.
I failed the training for the previous work. I'm with the same agency still, but seriously, have you heard of a vehicle called a lollop?
I can't say that I have off the top of my head. No,
it's like a forklift truck with Down syndrome.
To be fair, that probably would fit you very well. Oh, sorry.
Ooh,
no, I hate that thing with a fucking passion. Because you know how vehicles normally turn about, normally. Yeah. This thing doesn't. When you want to turn this thing, it's got like two small wheels set on the
vehicles on the site. Most vehicles on the site normally use their rear wheels to be able to turn. So no.
Yeah, well, this entire thing just pivots on these two tiny wheels at the very end of the forks. So it's more like you just sort of spin around in a circle. It feels like you're drifting in a fucking battleship. And they made me try to do a fucking obstacle course on this cunting thing, doing 2 90-degree turns within the space of about 7 foot. And this thing's like 10 foot long.
Yeah,
what he's not telling you is I expected him to do Tokyo Drift 2, but he's keeping quiet about that.
Oh, well, worse than that, they're expecting me to do the obstacle course in fucking reverse.
I'd probably be doing it in reverse to start with, but hey, that's just funny.
Anyway, so to drag you all off topic.
Hey, no worries.
I mean, it's not really a topic. It's literally Doku just moaning at Bill Maher, so it's not really a topic.
Yeah. The usual.
Yeah, I just felt like Bill Maher needed to be called out for being an idiot.
I've had a cool idea. How about we replace Bill Maher with hamsters?
Yes, we should. We should.
Right then. Okay.
We'd actually be better off, and we'd actually have an energy surplus, and we would be better for the environment because of that.
True.
You're welcome. You're all welcome. I saved the problem.
If we're calling people out, I have to call Doku out because he said yesterday that he wasn't going to be on today.
You almost called him Dooku, didn't you?
Yes.
Wait, when did I say that?
Yesterday at the end of the stream.
You did actually.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm a liar. You should all know this by now.
I mean, I'm not going to deny that, but it's just shocking when it actually happens.
I'm sorry. I see certain things that annoy me, and I have to get it off my chest.
So basically, you're saying that you've got ADHD.
And anger problems is actually probably more accurate.
Now, what you're really saying is he's actually MC in disguise.
No, there's no disguise. MC knows what he is because he's a bit older. Doku's just getting there because he's younger.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just slowly becoming more frustrated at society. I will eventually end up on MC's level. I'm working my way there slowly.
Yeah, you just need some more alcohol and some more anger, and you'll be fine.
Well, alcohol I can take care of. Anger, and we're getting to the anger part.
I was going to say, you have the anger. You're moaning at a Saturday night TV show host for talking about crap.
Now, the thing is, I actually, for a while there, Bill Maher was actually making good points, and then he comes out with this incredibly moronic hot take, and it's like, well, I guess we're back to square one.
Are we back to square one? Or can we not just take it point by point?
1.5.
So you're giving him more than a point? So you're giving him more than a point every time. So 1.5 for every time he says something correct. I'm confused. Do you like him or do you not?
I don't like him, but I will give credit where credit is due. So I'm being generous by giving him.
So you're giving him extra credit?
Yes.
Like I said, I'm being generous. I'm being nice.
I don't think that you understood what you said when you said it, and now you're just trying to backtrack.
Yeah.
No,
this is the same guy who created the new money called Goid.
Goid.
Just saying.
Hashtag Goid.
Yep. Technically, it wasn't actually money. It was a backing for the currency. So.
True. Now all we need to do is get Yorkie to hashtag Goid, and then clip it.
God, the bad part is I could actually probably make a meme coin called Goid coin.
Oh no!
Again, start off with the alt-right circles. It will kick off. It will be fine. Do 4chan first.
If Dogecoin could be a thing, Goidcoin could be a thing. The sad part is I'm not wrong. I actually could do this.
That's bad.
We definitely need to do a Dogecoin then.
There is already a Dogecoin. That's the problem.
Yeah, Dodge will be fine though.
Dodge, Doge, Goid, it's all pixie dust according to Bill Maher, so it doesn't matter.
Well, technically it is, but then again, technically so is most currency, because at the end of the day, most currency doesn't actually exist. It is nothing more than electrical ones and zeros. It's a falsification.
No. Currency does exist. Most currency is backed, even though it's not anymore, is backed by the gold that you would actually have in your aspects.
Yep. Now go into a bank and ask them to exchange your bank account for gold.
Because the money is now not done on the promise of you having the gold. It's done on the fact of you saying that you'll pay the bearer upon the promise of gold. So though the wording's similar, it's not the same.
It's very subtle, isn't it?
See, now you're talking about the difference between currency and money. And
yes.
This is where Bill Maher actually gets his argument completely wrong. Money is still backed upon something that is considered to be a store of wealth or a store of value. That's why we have gold notes or silver notes here in the United States. Those no longer exist. What we're talking about is currency, specifically fiat currency. So if you looked at a Federal Reserve note and you read what it says right on the bill, It's legal tender for all debts, public and private. It is a representation of debt. The U.S. dollar represents debt because the U.S. government itself is indebted to the central banking system backed by the Fed, and the only thing giving it real value is that everybody expects the government at some point in time is going to repay its debts. It has value. And it has value because people not only do they accept it as money, but they also expect that the government will inevitably repay its debts at some point in time.
I mean, has America ever met? I mean, has America ever met Americans? They very rarely ever pay their debts.
Technically, we do repay our debts.
Now, bombs don't count.
We do repay our debts. We just happen to do it in a very roundabout way because, sure, we'll repay the debt that you owe right now, but we also tend to take out money and lend it out to other people and sell treasury bonds, and then we use a central banking system to actually put more money into circulation. And so the debt that was owed 10, 20, 30 years ago does get repaid, but it doesn't mean that the value of the dollar you hold now is going to be the same as the value of a dollar that you're going to be holding 30 years from now. And that is the dirty little secret that people hate when you start calling out the inflationary fiat system of currency that we have currently. Sure, I'll give you back your dollars. Now, how much purchasing power is it going to have? I guarantee it's not going to be as much as it was 10 years ago. You would actually have been better off not buying a treasury bond and just spent your dollar. You would have gotten more for your dollar 10 years ago than if you just let it sit there in your wallet 10 years from now, or if you bought a treasury bond with let's just go with the most basic percentage. Targeted inflation of 2%. Even if you're holding 2%, a 2% treasury bond, that 2% you're going to get on your dollar is still going to be worth less than if you just spent the dollar 10 years ago. You'd be better off holding a can of beans that cost you 10 cents than if you just held whatever that would be worth in a treasury bond. Why? Because we keep printing money.
Well, it's not just that. It's also to do with the actual general debt that the government actually has and the fact that it keeps on increasing. So the more that the debt increases on the actual government of the country, the less that the money that the government produces is going to be worth because it still has to pay out more.
Well, here's a fun fact.
Yay, we're talking about economics. I'm not sure that actually coincides, but please continue.
If you look at the input cost of actually making a physical coin, whether it's a penny, a dime, a nickel, a quarter, that's actually worth more. Like just the metal itself is actually worth more than the denomination. There will come a point in time, mark my words on this, and it might not happen in my lifetime, but if we go down the road that we're going down, the fabric that the dollar is printed on, let alone the ink, will be worth more than what the dollar says it's actually worth.
May I?
I would imagine before it... Go on, after you.
Okay. You might be right there, Doku, except for one thing, okay? $1 as a coin, for instance, and I'm using this as a purely random thing, is worth X. It doesn't overly matter, but we've agreed it's worth more than $1. But it's still worth that dollar no matter how many times it's used. So let's say, I tell you what, let's take the piddle and say that this dollar costs $10. Once you spend it 10 times, it's made its money back. If you can't spend that coin 10 times without it wearing out, what the hell are you making dollars out of? Which means technically the coin actually becomes worthwhile after it's been used a certain minimum amount of times. So yes, does it cost more to actually create it? Yeah. Is it worth more? I actually argue that statement.
No, Jensen, you're wrong.
Go on then.
Because every time
how did you do that without moving your lips, Doku? I'm impressed.
No, Jensen, you're wrong. The reason why you're wrong
Go on.
is very, very simply that, as Doku's been explaining, you're saying that when you're spending that money, you're keeping the same amount that you're spending it from. The actual fact that Doku is trying to explain is that every time you're spending it, you're losing value on it.
Okay. Okay.
And this is the problem that we have in an inflationary environment. And the dollar is, by design, an inflationary currency. We continuously print more of it because that's the only way we can repay our debts. If we just set everything to a straight, there's only going to be $1 billion in existence. It's never going to go up or down. It's just going to be a straight, this costs this much. How do we measure that? Well, we measure it in dollars. That's not the way our current economic system works. And this goes into modern monetary theory. And I'm going to try to simplify it as much as possible.
Good luck.
It's not an easy thing to do. I will try my best. Because our economy is based on a system where we're essentially borrowing money, debt, to repay for goods or services rendered now. We will repay that debt in the future. The only way we can do so is by inflating the economy.
You missed the part.
I know I did miss a part, but just hear me out on this.
Yeah, but it's the most important part. It's literally the beginning part. For you to actually be able to buy anything first, because of the way that the economic system is at the minute, you're putting yourself into debt on the promise of you paying the debt off. So it's actually you that's putting yourself into debt on the promise that you're going to pay it off via the government.
Well, we have to. That's the entire basis
No, I understand.
of the deficit spending system.
I understand, but that's the most important part of your system. Otherwise, it would... Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, no, and I'm not disagreeing with you. You're 100% correct. It is a system that is based purely on faith, and that faith stems from, I trust that you're going to repay the debt later. The little known secret is, yeah, I'll repay my debt later. Now, how much is the currency that I'm going to repay you with going to be worth? And if you can print something, or if you can create something, well, sure, it's going to be worth something. People will still accept it as an exchange of value or a measurement of value, but it's not going to be worth as much today. Say, if I just continue to print and then 10 years from now I have to repay it. That dollar that I gave you 10 years from now is not going to be worth as much as it is today. That is the very nature of an inflationary currency.
I can make this a very, very easy example for almost anybody. If anybody's ever taken out a loan or a mortgage, if it has a point where it's not a fixed loan or a fixed mortgage, which means it doesn't change with the rate of inflation, that if you have a non-fixed loan, you will have to pay the rate of inflation that goes with it. So it will recalculate itself for the UK after every April. If it goes up by 8% on the idea of inflation, and it's not a fixed loan or a fixed mortgage, it will go up by that 8% because it's not fixed, which means that you have to pay an extra 8% on what you've already borrowed because of inflation. That's literally what Doku's saying, but on a national level.
Okay.
Well, and the problem is, normally we would look at something like that, and we would still have to adhere to a fixed inflation rate. And if you wanted a currency like that, you would have to put a limit on how many new dollars you can put into circulation. And if you exceed that, you would have to take it out of circulation through either taxes, interest rate, things like that. It's into velocity of money M1, M2. Which I won't go down that rabbit hole and bore everybody with. But even then, you would have set to a fixed target of how is the dollar going to inflate. For every $100 out there, I'm only allowed to put 2 more into circulation per year. and then you add that 2% inflation into what the loan is going to be. And so therefore, you're guaranteed at least a 2% inflation. Unfortunately, this doesn't hold true because our monetary system does not stick to those strict rules and standards. So if you look back at last year, look at how many dollars were actually printed. What do you think that is going to do to the purchasing power of the dollar 5, 10 years down the road? We don't think about it right now because it doesn't drastically affect the purchasing power of the dollar. But 5, 10 years from now, it could be a really, really, really bad thing for the dollar. You can't just, and well, people don't realize, you can't just print trillions of dollars and then say, oh yeah, the dollar is still going to be worth $1. No, the price of goods and services are going to go up to reflect that. And it's not going to happen overnight. What is going to happen is that you will see a slow creep where the dollar will continue to increase in value, and then eventually inflation rates are going to spike. Interest rates are going to spike, and then you're going to have to try to pull that money out of circulation to retain the purchasing power of the dollar and prevent hyperinflation, or worst case scenario, a deflationary environment. But that's only going to happen after the fact, because once M1 hits M2, good luck trying to get that money out of circulation because it's already in the market. You're already going to start to see the price of goods and services go up. People are already going to be struggling. And as soon as you try to raise taxes, or as soon as you try to increase interest rates, it's hurt the people that are having to pay money right now for real goods and services. The price of beans already went up. The price of wheat, rice, all of that already went up. You're not going to be able to pull that money out of the economy without harming your average consumer.
Yeah. What Dooku's literally getting onto at this minute in time is using it as a hyperbolic example, but an actual example that happened is the hyperinflation that happened just before the Second World War in Germany.
Mm-hmm. Question. This is more for the Brits here, but
oh dear.
Why? Yeah, I know. Why is the British government not doing this as an excuse to get away with pretty much murder? Involving Brexit and money. This would be a good way of covering it up, wouldn't it?
No, because as Stoker's actually said, our currency still relies on the fact of how much debt that we're actually able to pay. It's the reason why the Brexit was being told about the fact of our AAA record, or our AAA status of being able to pay back our debts actually got diminished to a AA. That tells the rest of the world how we can actually trade with each other and how much that we're going to pay our debts back and so on and so forth. If that rating goes too low, we can't trade with people. So if we keep on hyperinflating our currency, that means that we wouldn't be able to pay back what our debts would be to the rest of the world, which means that our rating would go down, which means we'd be on a runaway economic train again.
I'm not saying we should do it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I'm surprised that they didn't.
Because of, as Doku explains, the way that it can and does generally go down, it leads you down a runaway train. Because once you start doing that, you have to start clawing back money from the rest of society. So you have to increase taxes, which doesn't actually claw back the money because people just won't pay it quick enough, or they'll leave the country if you do it on corporation tax, which is one of the things that happened in Germany, where they just left everywhere. So they had to hyper-nationalize everything, which then puts things in more debt.
Okay, cool.
Am I correct in that, Doku? As you're the economics guy, am I correct in that analysis?
No, you're 100% correct, and it has everything to do with the only thing backing up your fiat currency right now is the faith that you're going to repay these debts, and then once the currency starts to deflate and either deflate or inflate, deflation being the worst of the two, once people lose faith in that currency of retaining some degree of value, you run into a very significant problem, because if people think the money is not going to be worth anything, they start selling it off, and you end up with this downward spiral. Or if they think it's going to be inflationary, they're going to start buying goods and commodities, and they end up they start hoarding them. But at that point in time, you don't actually inject anything to economy, and the economic machine actually starts to slow down, and you end up with the same result. It's the effect on the currency itself that is important. Either way, no result is good. It's just you would be better off with an actual money system as opposed to a fiat currency system. And unfortunately, we're in a fiat currency system, and we're being very irresponsible about how we choose to spend money. And the people that get hit the worst by it are the ones that have either the least amount of assets, which is going to be the poor and the middle class, because they're just to be blunt, they're not rich. We'll just put it that way. They're not rich. Or the other ones that get hurt by the system are the ones that end up holding the debt, or as we call them, bag holders.
Okay.
All right, before Doku goes into another tirade, I'm going to get off. It was really nice speaking to you again, but I've got to go back to college and actually pretend I'm learning something.
Good to see you again, mate.
What subject are you doing at college?
ICT. I'm pretending I know stuff about computers.
Well, good luck with it, lad.
No worries. Thank you very much, guys. It was good speaking to you again. Hopefully I can catch you again sometime.
Who knows?
Sounds good, CSG.
Again soon.
Hey, CSG, thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, no worries. It's always good speaking to everybody. All right, I am going to go. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
All right, later, man.
All right, Yorkie, you're doing all the talking now. It's you versus Doku.
Excuse me.
That's all right. You're excused. Don't forget, he's the guy that created Goid. That's what I'm going to say.
Hashtag Goid.
You know, that's probably it's going to exist just out of sheer stupidity value.
It's
In
funny,
fact,
and I apologize for nothing.
Actually, you should really say hashtag Goidcoin if you're going to do it properly.
Hashtag Goidcoin.
And I'm sure Doku's done dumber stuff.
Oh, he has. And he is proud of the dumb stuff he's done.
You've known me for long enough. You know I've done dumber things than hashtag Goidcoin.
Yeah, no, I played games with you for like, what, 2 years or some shit?
Hashtag bring me my walk.
If we ever meet in person, I'm going to give you a fucking potted plant.
That'd be funny.
I miss Squirrel Girl.
Gonna be done.
Yeah.
For Squirrel Girl.
Yeah.
I'm glad she got reincarnated as a nutbush. She would appreciate that.
Yep.
Meanwhile, nobody in chat knows what the fuck we're on about.
That's perfectly reasonable. To be fair, they don't need to. It's kind of more fun that only we truly understand how important she is.
Actually, it's going to be funnier having to try to work it out in their heads, trying to figure out what we're talking about.
Also true.
Hashtag nutbush.
Anyway, have you done shouting about some stupid American comedian that's not even funny?
I made my point, and
I'm not disagreeing. Okay.
And CSG actually followed it up perfectly. He's not wrong. We have a financial system that is 100% dependent upon inflation and the good faith of people to repay their debts.
Yes.
It's not money, and it's not a good system to have put in place. We've seen how it works out historically. It never works out well. It always results in the currency itself collapsing. Just to make a case in point, how much money do you think a copper penny minted, I should say, minted 1983 or prior, how much money do you think it's actually worth?
I genuinely don't actually know.
So a copper penny, just because of the content of the metal, is actually worth 3 cents.
Okay.
That should tell you how our system works. And if you go and you look at what I forget his name.
This is like some kind of R. Kelly maths.
Well, no, it's literally just because the cost of copper to print a penny.
Mm-hmm.
If it's from 1983 or prior,
Mm-hmm.
the value of the copper inside that penny is worth 3 cents.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna ask.
I wasn't joking. Was R. Kelly the one that did this maths?
Well, it's a product of having an inflationary system.
I guess that joke went over everyone's head then.
Yeah, sorry, dude. Not really.
Yeah, it did.
Because he kept claiming the girl he slept with. He thought she was 18.
Oh.
Oh, goddamn Yorkie. But
Again, I still don't see why I was wrong with what I was saying about a coin and how much it's worth. But I mean, let's face it. Using that as your statement, the coin is worth 3 cents, but it's used repeatedly, so therefore it's used more often than 3 times. Therefore, it's going to get its money back. Why am I wrong? Tell me why. Okay.
Now we're getting into the argument of what is, as CSG was actually saying, what is the actual worth of the physical asset as opposed to how we value it as a society. And using his example of the German mark post World War I, it was worth more as wallpaper than it was as an actual exchange of value.
Yeah.
Because people didn't think the mark was worth a damn thing. So it's like, yeah, I can use it as tinder for a fire. I could use it as wallpaper, and it actually would be easier for me to use a German mark as wallpaper than to go out and actually try to buy literal wallpaper.
I would admit that is kind of bad. Yeah, has to be said.
And that's what happens with a fiat currency that no longer has any faith behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And the dollar is no different. I'm not saying it's going to get to that extreme, but it's no different. So yeah, the other example is, and this goes back to what I was talking about when with Bill Maher, and why Bitcoin is actually not nearly as bad as he's trying to claim it is, because he doesn't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
There's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin. It has scarcity. Now, normally you would look at Bitcoin and go, it's digital money. It doesn't have a physical form. It's not a physical dollar. Or, it's not an actual physical piece of paper I can hand off to someone. But neither is the US dollar. And if you go back and you look at some of the statements made by the previous chairman of the Fed, when they say they're increasing the money supply, they don't print dollars, or at least not in the sense that most people think they do. They create them digitally.
Yeah.
If you tried to take the net worth of every billionaire and get a bank to give you physical dollar bills, even if we made $1,000 bills, you're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. It's all a digital currency. The guy said it himself. All of the money that they print through quantitative easing and injecting liquidity into the market, which I know there's some people who say, oh, quantitative easing is what happened. Is it's injection of liquidity into the market. Quantitative easing is just a name that they use. It's no different. It's no different than just printing money. That's all it means. So don't get hung up on the semantics of the terminology.
Okay.
It's all done digitally. There are no physical dollars that represent those ones and zeros on a computer screen.
Yeah.
They don't exist. Hey, end of story. They don't. I mean, I know a lot of people don't want to admit this because it's kind of a scary thing when you realize that our fiat currency system is nothing more than a farce. It's a scam. If you really boil it down to brass tacks, it's a scam. That penny from 1983 that has a stamp on it that's made out of a piece of copper is worth more than that 1 and 0 sitting in your bank account for one simple fucking reason. It's a physical piece of copper. It has an actual use. You could potentially melt it down to use as wiring. What can you do with a digital dollar? You can buy a penny to melt down to use as wiring, but that's about it. It doesn't really matter for much. The only good thing it does is it's a way to put a value on something that somebody wants.
Actually, I was going to say it's just something that's so worthless in the physical sense that actually makes fiat money look practical.
And that's the thing.
Wow.
It doesn't have any intrinsic value outside of the fact that somebody somewhere will accept it as an exchange for a good or service. But that 1.00 doesn't matter for anything else other than that somebody will accept it. That's it. That's the only value it has. Once it loses that value, it's worth nothing. It's worth literally nothing. What can you do with cryptocurrency? Well, with something like Bitcoin or Ethereum, because it's based on blockchain technology, there are certain things that you can only use Bitcoin or Ethereum to actually purchase.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually has more value, which is why it gets treated as an asset by the SEC. It's the same argument people make about, well, does gold have any value? It does. Because people will accept it as an exchange for a good or service. But gold is still better than a digital dollar because it's a physical asset. And oh, by the way, how scarce is gold by comparison to how scarce is rice? I could trade you, 100 pounds worth of rice for 50 pounds of apples.
Mm-hmm.
That's great and all. Do you think I'm going to be carrying around 50 pounds of apples? Or would I rather carry around just one gold coin?
That's why it was created.
Just, I could see you carrying that many apples just like if you feel like you have to make a point. I could see you definitely doing it.
I could see you doing it and lobbing them at people, I'll be honest with you.
You're not wrong. I definitely would.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my point. The whole reason that we had a money system put in place is because it's easier to exchange scarce resources because they're smaller and they're easier. And that we call dimes, which are made out of dimes, or nickels, which are made out of nickels.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Well, backspace one. Dime is a material, not just a coin. Since when?
It still has more use, and it's still smaller than. Oh, technically, I should say it's more scarce than trying to trade, 10-pound bags of rice for 5-pound bags of apples.
Yeah.
For some reason, that just reminded me of a little thing that happened in school years back. Some of the guys I hung out with, kind of friends, they were having a food fight, and one day I handed one of them my apple for him to throw, and he aimed it at these people who were stood behind this like metal grated railing or something.
Oh,
he threw it, it hit the railing, and then it basically turned into birdshot, and it splattered like 3 of them.
Nice. Okay, that statement.
I'll applaud to that.
Mhm. Okay, that's cool. You chipped it. Gotcha. Well, have you had your rant, Doku? Do you feel better?
Yeah, no, that's my economic rant, and also explaining why Bill Maher is a moron, doesn't know what he was talking about, and also don't get your economic advice from a fucking comedian.
Fair.
Well, I mean,
Yorkie,
we do live
have
in
you got
con
anything
world.
you'd like to chat about, Geezer?
Not off the top of my head, really.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of useless with economics and stuff.
That's why it's literally anything. The whole point is this is a very much banter, rants, and bullshit. If you can think of it to chat about, you go ahead. Okay.
Oh, it is May the 4th, so happy Gina Carano Day.
Oh, shots, sir. Nice. I agree. Happy Gina Carano Day. Screw you, Disney. Screw you.
I was seeing a few hashtag we love Gina Carano, hashtag what the fuck was the other one? We love Cara Dune. I think that's the character she played.
Okay. Good.
But yeah,
Good.
just people taking the piss out of Disney because May the 4th be with you. Yeah, bring back Gina Carano.
Yep.
At Disney, this is the grave you dug for yourselves. And I am more entertained by this than anything you've done with the Star Wars franchise because
I just googled her and it says that there's rumors that she's actually being brought back to the Mandalorian.
Oh, good luck with that one.
I heard about that as well, and I hope she tells them to go pound sand.
Same.
I mean, they threw you under the bus and didn't do a damn thing to help you. They even endorsed some people who tried to go after you. Why would you go back and help them? Like, nah, dude. Let them suffer. They need it.
Yes. I agree. Well, in that case, I'm going to call this. We've been going for over an hour. Thank you for popping out and listening to our utter gibberish. I hope I was able to entertain you even vaguely. And if nothing else, I hope you learned something from Doku. Okay, guys, I'll speak to you later. Thank you for coming on. And hey, who knows? Maybe someone did actually learn something. Bye-bye, everyone.
Join the evil organization.